For Saint-Boniface-Saint-Vital. Mr. Speaker, I would like to highlight the 57th edition of the Festival du Voyageur, which has concluded in Winnipeg. Created to honor the heritage of the voyageurs and celebrate the Francophone community in Western Canada, this festival embodies a spirit of courage, solidarity, and pride. The voyageur spirit is that of builders who come together despite the winter to celebrate their culture and pass it on with passion. For nearly 60 years, this event has brought together thousands of people around music, history, gastronomy, and impressive snow sculptures. This year, despite the cold, more than 70,000 festival goers answered the call. More than 200 artists performed on stage, from the Grand Francophone opening to the Valentine's Day and Louis Riel Day. The Festival du Voyageur remains the largest cultural event in Manitoba and Western Canada. I would like to extend my warmest thanks to the organizers, artists, and volunteers. Hee-haw.
The member for Calgary, Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Prime Minister promised the fastest-growing economy in the G7, but new Statistics Canada data shows that Canada's economy shrank last quarter, the only country in the G7 to do so. After 10 years of deficits, inflation, higher taxes, anti-development laws, and bloating bureaucracy, growth has stalled, and Canadians are paying the price. While other countries build, this government fails to approve nation-building resource projects. The Major Projects Office has yet to approve a single new project, despite being created in order to move at unimaginable speed. Business has stalled, net capital is leaving, and per capita GDP has been flat for a decade, while Canadians work harder and fall further behind. This is the result of Liberal policies blocking development, suppressing productivity, and driving away investment. Now that Canada is the only G7 economy with a shrinking country with a shrinking economy, will the Liberals finally get their taxes, bureaucracies out of the way and stop making things worse so Canada can build, invest, and grow?
The member for Winnipeg North.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's about a Team Canada approach. Every Liberal member of Parliament understands the importance of the Canada-USA trade. Every Liberal member of Parliament. Now, we have a Conservative member of Parliament, while the leader of the Conservative Party is trying to reset his trade position. You have a Conservative member of Parliament that travels to the USA, meets with the President, meets with the Vice President, and what does he come back saying? Well, let me quote. Canada is shooting itself in the foot with anti-American hissy fit on trade. Shame on the Conservative Party. Now you take a look at the Cuba issue. You have a Conservative MP that is saying, Mr. Speaker, that Canada should not be contributing to Cuba, but the Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party says he is wrong. We should. Who is actually making foreign policy in the Conservative Party today, Mr. Speaker?
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
The Canadian economy is suffering the effects of unjustified tariffs from the Trump administration in the U.S. Conservatives propose creating a strategic critical mineral reserve as well as an all-party CUSMA working group to address these challenges and to create a tariff-free auto pact. This would restore our leverage and support Canadian manufacturing. So will the government work with us to ensure that Canada can negotiate trade deals that benefit our workers and our economy?
The Minister of Industry.
Speaker, to answer directly to my colleague, obviously we can. We can get to a good deal. This is exactly why the Prime Minister is engaged, but also this is exactly why our colleague, the Minister of Canada-US Trade, is in Washington today, meeting with the representative for trade to do that work. That being said, we took good note of what the leader of the opposition said yesterday at a Canadian club, and we're very happy that a lot of our program is being copied.
The member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Conservatives have consistently demonstrated a willingness to work with the government to get results for Canadians in the face of these unjustified tariffs from U.S. President Donald Trump. Look at the constructive amendments to the budget bill that they adopted and our support for efforts to relieve taxes on Canadians in this challenging time. Our proposal for an all-party CUSMA working group to get a tariff-free auto pact, to create a strategic critical mineral reserve, will help us to negotiate from a position of strength. So will the government accept our offer to work together to get the best results in the interest of all Canadians?
Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, there are lots of things we cannot control. Certainly we can control the White House, but there are lots of things we can control. And what we can control is how to build one strong Canadian economy. Who said that first? Prime Minister Carney.
Here, here.
Who copied that yesterday? The leader of the opposition. Mr. Speaker, of course we'll work on an auto pact that is tariff-free. Of course, Mr. Speaker, we will work to have a strong critical mineral supply. And of course, we want to work as one Team Canada. The Conservatives should just get on board.
Dear Member St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Speaker, the numbers are in, and Canada's economy shrank during the fourth quarter of 2025. In fact, Canada's economy is the only shrinking economy in the G7. The Prime Minister promised to build the strongest economy in the G7. Instead, he's delivered the weakest. So, in the face of that, will the Prime Minister accept any responsibility for the dismal state of Canada's economy?
The Honourable Prime Secretary, Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
It's always interesting when the Conservatives cite reports, they only cite part of the report. Of course, it's unfortunate that we saw a contraction of 0.6% in real GDP. What else does the report say? It says that consumer demand is up. It says that domestic business investment is up. Beyond that, my colleagues very well read, I'm sure you read Bloomberg yesterday, the highest foreign direct investment Canada has seen since 2007 at almost $100 billion. A major nation-building project is exactly what this country is engaged in to bring jobs and purchasing power. We will achieve exactly that.
The Honourable Member of St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Speaker, here's the reality. Under this Prime Minister's watch, more investment dollars have left Canada than come in.
That's right.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has doubled down on the worst policies of Justin Trudeau. Higher taxes, inflationary spending, and the same anti-development laws. Not a single major project approved.
That's right.
So with a record like that, is it any wonder that Canada has the worst economy in the G7?
The Honourable Prime Secretary.
Well, the apparent new trade critic, I don't know what he is, foreign affairs critic from Oshawa Bowmanville, talks about a hissy-fit doctrine of the Conservative Party. What is this government doing under the Prime Minister's leadership? Forging new trade relationships, forging new investment opportunities. We see the result in terms of foreign direct investment in a nation-building agenda that will lead, as I said, to new jobs, the purchasing power that comes from that. Along the way, we know that those results are not immediate, of course. We are cutting taxes for Canadians. We are continuing to put in affordability measures. We will continue to be there for the people of this country. It's a serious agenda for a serious time.
The Honourable Member, Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Well, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals promised the strongest economy in the G7. Statistics Canada data released this morning confirms the opposite, the failure of their approach. Real GDP contracted by 0.2% in the last quarter of 2025. In fact, Canada is now the only G7 country whose economy is in decline, given that GDP per capita is stagnating and Canadians are working harder just to fall further behind. When will this government stop hamstringing our economy with taxes and bureaucracies so that we can finally become competitive again with our allies? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you very much. I have a great deal of respect for my colleague, but I'd correct what she was saying because, in fact, we've created more jobs than the U.S. last year. 189,000 new jobs, which is more than in the U.S., and yet the American economy is 10 times bigger than the Canadian economy. In fact, our exports also increased to Europe by 31%, Latin America, Africa, Asia, and we are a destination for foreign direct investment, which is incredible, which is why we're attracting so much investment to Canada. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. My data is current. Today's reports show an alarming trend for the third consecutive year. Government spending is artificially propping up GDP while business investment is declining. In the auto sector, production has fallen by half since the Liberals took office, threatening thousands of jobs. In fact, projects are stalled and capital is fleeing this country. When will this government cut red tape to give Canadian entrepreneurs some breathing room? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague mentioned, perhaps it would be wise to read an entire report when you quote from it, and to realize that in the fourth quarter of this year, internal demand was very high. That's domestic demand. Foreign investment has resumed, and the only negative point was the drop in inventory. Usually when inventory drops, it means in the next quarter, production will resume and pick up steam. So we can say that we are going strong. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, just imagine retiring only then to not receive your old age pension for 9 months. This is the kind of problem that 85,000 people are experiencing here because of the Curam software. 85,000 is the figure dating back to the end of January. The minister has not updated these figures yet. We hope the situation has improved, but on Monday, the president of the Professional Institute of the Public Service said he feared that millions of people would eventually be affected. When will there be a public and independent inquiry into this fiasco before it gets any worse? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to Labour. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, I would recommend that he read the Auditor General's report on the modernization of benefits, or even read testimony from public accounts. Of course, we are working to address the backlog, but we have to remember this is the largest digital project ever undertaken by the Government of Canada. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, I hope so, given these figures. It's so costly. 85,000 victims of Curam errors, and perhaps more. We just don't know. $5 billion in cost overruns, and the Liberals keep repeating that there is no problem. But we're looking at those reports that she's telling us to read. This is precisely why the National Assembly is unanimously calling for an independent public inquiry into federal computer programs once and for all. We will find out why there are citizens who are harmed, who they are, and cost overruns. Clean things up once and for all. Where there be an inquiry.
We've been at this all week. Let me try to correct the member opposite's assertions. There is no cost overrun. The first phase of this project is on track with respect to modernizing old age security. There are other phases of work still to come, similarly to modernize EI and Canadian Pension Plan benefits. The Auditor General has looked at this. The Public Accounts Committee has looked at this. The government provided a response to this House based on the Parliamentary Committee's report. Let's stop sowing confusion on this and get back to the facts, please.
Yes. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, Lithium, a Quebec company, will be bought by Americans if Ottawa fails to invest $30 million by March 3rd. 4 days, that's how much time we have left to avoid losing another company in our industry, this time to an American rival heavily subsidized by Washington. The battery recycling market expected to reach $70 billion by 2040. It's worth the investment. Abandoning a Quebec company to the Americans because of a lack of federal action is exactly the opposite of the Prime Minister's election promises. Will the Liberals finally support Lithion? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Look, we've had conversations with the company. Of course, the company is facing financial difficulties. The government of Quebec has decided not to go ahead to support this company, but we believe in this battery industry, and we also believe that Lithion has significant assets in keeping with our strength in the area of critical minerals. So I've already worked with the Bloc Québécois on this to find solutions, and we will find solutions. Better.
All right, we got it. This is the feed. There's a mistake on the buttons. Someone has pressed the translator button, and we're only getting we're getting the translator who's not translating the French translation. So I will put it to a floor video until we have to translate.
These terrible decisions. When will they wake up to the fact that their decisions are hurting the Canadian economy?
The Honourable Minister for Industry.
Speaker, again, we're hearing the same rhetoric from the Conservatives, blaming Canadians for the trade war, saying again, like the Conservative member from Oshawa North, saying that Canadians are having a hissy fit over basically tariffs at a time where GM auto workers in his own writing have just lost their jobs.
That's right.
Why are they not able to say that the trade war is because President Trump decided to impose tariffs on the world, including Canada? We will fight for auto workers. We have a great auto strategy. Even Premier Ford is in favor of it. We'll make sure that we save jobs.
The Honourable Member for Yellowhead.
The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7. Instead, he's delivered the weakest. Today's Statistics Canada report that Canada is the only country in the G7 with negative growth. How did this happen? Years of inflationary deficits, high taxes, and an exploding bureaucracy. Business is stalled, capital is leaving, and the GDP per capita is flat. It's time for the Liberals to remove the taxes and red tape holding Canadians back. What are they waiting for?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of International Trade.
So I think, Speaker, we're starting to recognize that the opposition has finally got the memo that we may be in the middle of a trade war where our closest ally and trade partner has turned their back on us. And that is why we are so focused on making sure that we diversify our trade. That's why we are working hard to open markets in China, in India, in Japan, in Australia, where the Prime Minister is visiting right now, in places like Qatar and United Arab Emirates. So while they on the other side try to figure out whether they're having a hissy fit about this or not, we're on this side and focused on creating good paying jobs across Canada.
The Honourable Member for Langley Township, Fraser Heights.
Despite promising the fastest growing economy in the G7, this Prime Minister has delivered the weakest. And today we are the only country in the G7 with a shrinking economy, and young people are paying the price. The generation that should be building up wealth for the future is instead falling further behind. Personal debt at an all-time high, savings basically non-existent, and millennials giving up hope. They want to know, when will this government create a working economy so that they can have hope for a better future?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, once again, as I said earlier, my colleague also said it earlier, when one reads a report from Statistics Canada, one should read the whole report. What we find out in today's report is that for the year 2025, for the whole year, economic growth in Canada was 1.7%, plus 1.7%. That makes it the second fastest in the OECD area. And on top of that, we created more in absolute terms, more jobs here than in the US. No, we are not falling apart, Mr. President.
Mr. Speaker, in Northern Ontario, buoyancy prosperity for young Canadians has become the source of economic anxiety for over 60% of millennials. Chapleau in my region, a logging, mining and rail town, where young Canadians chased opportunity, now stand as an example of the affordability crisis facing our youth. Canada is now the only G7 economy moving backwards. When will this government let Canadians build, invest, and grow again?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague for his question. I know he is sincere in his wanting to support forestry sector. He does try to work with us on occasion in committee. I really do hope, however, the Conservatives will bring that more positively forward in the House generally and help us vote in support of an agenda that is trying to modernize and strengthen the forestry sector in Canada. We've announced $2.5 billion in support so far. We have a transformation task force going on right now. We do want to work with you, sir. You, Mr. Speaker, and I look forward to continuing to work with you all.
The Honourable Member for Leduc-Wetaskiwin.
Real leaders take ownership of their mistakes. They learn and they change.
Contrast that with the daily Liberal approach in this House. Blame, blame, blame. The fact is the Prime Minister's signature election promise was to, quote, build the strongest economy in the G7. That exact phrase appeared word for word 10 times in the Liberal platform. Today we learned that Canada has the only shrinking economy in the G7. Our global competitors faced with the same global challenges are all doing better. Will someone take some ownership over there and admit that record Liberal spending is crushing the Canadian economy?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. What is very clear, coming out of the last election, less than a year ago, Canadians elected a new Prime Minister with a mandate to build a strong and healthy Canada. That's exactly what we are doing. Whether it is budgetary motions, whether it is legislative measures, this is exactly what Canadians want, and that is exactly what this caucus continues to deliver. Contrary to what Conservatives like to spread, misinformation, Canada is still the best country in the world to call home.
Member for Leduc-Wetaskiwin.
Speaking of misinformation, let's talk about Liberal promises in the last election. 10 months ago, Canadians trusted the Liberal Prime Minister when he promised a budget deficit of only $62 billion. 5 months ago, that number ballooned to $78 billion, and again this month they added billions more. Promise clearly broken. 10 months ago, Canadians trusted the Liberal Prime Minister when he promised to, quote, build the strongest economy in the G7. Today we have the weakest economy in the G7, and it is actually shrinking. Promise clearly broken. Why should Canadians believe anything anyone over there has to say now?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliament Secretary, Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, contrast the Conservatives with the government of the day and the Prime Minister. We believe in Canadians. Right. We are investing in Canada's infrastructure. We are investing in Canadians. All the Conservatives want to do is talk down Canada. Have I got a news flash for the members opposite? You have a choice. Either come on side, be a part of Team Canada, or continue what you're doing, which is not representing your constituents. It's representing the Conservative Party of Canada. Let's be there for Canadians first.
Just remind the experienced member to address his questions through the chair. L'honorable député de Beauharnois, Salisbury, Soulanges, Huntington.
Monsieur le Président, le gouvernement a annoncé un programme de subvention pour le transport de l'acier canadien qui ne vise que le rail en excluant le transport
that targets only rail, excluding maritime transport. However, our ship owners have historically shipped hundreds of thousands of tons of steel per year. These flows are actively being threatened by the lack of support. Interprovincial maritime transport is essential to supply chains, and Transport Canada's mandate is precisely to promote an integrated transportation system. Will the minister correct this inconsistency and include domestic maritime transport in this program? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Why not? I have a great deal of respect for my colleague. I know she works her files really diligently, and she represents her riding where maritime transport is very important. I'd be happy to work with her on these important matters. We are also looking for ways, of course, to transport steel throughout the country as we further develop significant major projects here in the country, and we will work with the Minister of Transport on this matter. So I'd be happy to work with her. Following question period. The Honourable Member for Beauharnois, Salisbury, Soulanges, Huntington. Mr. Speaker, here at home at the Port of Valleyfield, Desgagnés Logistique is at risk of losing customers because Transport Canada has decided to create unfair competition between rail and maritime transport. The federal government is jeopardizing ports, jobs, and entire logistics corridors. If the minister recognizes the importance of maritime transport and the hundreds of thousands of tons of steel that depend on it, can he make a clear commitment to add a domestic maritime component to the program and with a concrete timeline? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague knows full well that if that specific company has financial issues, we can work together through Economic Development Canada for the Quebec region that I am responsible for to support the company. That said, yes, I would be happy to look into this matter with the Minister of Transport to find a solution that matters for people in Valleyfield. Thank you.
Murray Cold Lake.
Child poverty in Canada has risen for the third consecutive year. In 2025, nearly 30,000 more children fell below the poverty line, according to the latest Child and Family Poverty Report Card. The progress our country once made is not just slowing, we're going backwards. Behind every statistic is a child going without, a family stretched beyond its limits, and parents forced to make impossible choices. When will the Liberal government reverse the rise in child poverty, reduce the cost of living, and strengthen our economy so Canadians can afford basic necessities?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that same report mentions how our government's investments in the Canada Child Benefit, in dental care and child care, are helping families lower their cost of living. Mr. Speaker, I welcome the Conservatives in this question because it gives me an opportunity to talk about the supports that we have in place to help all children. One child in poverty is too many, but that's why we have Mr. Speaker, if I may. Mr. Speaker, that's why we have a Canada Child Benefit that is tax-free. A majority of the recipients of that are lone parent families. 90% are single moms. Those are the kind of supports that this government is putting in place and enhancing while those Conservatives continue.
The Honourable Member for Fort McMurray Cold Lake.
But that MP, well, here I paused it at a bad spot for her. Yeah, this MP, it's so quiet in there, you can hear a pin drop. Remember, it's Friday, and it's the backbenchers rise question period. Not 100%. This Leslie Church MP, who won the by-election down there for the Liberals, has been, I'll call her the rising star. I thought Mike Lake was a rising star now 2 years ago, but then he didn't do anything in particular, just something that just hasn't been given as much limelight. But yeah, it's backbench thing. I really am disappointed a little bit that the MPs don't show up. I would like them, the politicians, to make a rule that they're allowed to fill the seats with their staffers. Their staffers can't ask questions, but their staffers can do hoopla, you know what I mean? Cheer. Respectfully, blah, blah, blah. And, you keep them at a more muted tone just to reinforce the other benchers. Because there's nothing worse for government looks, like aesthetics, than looking at an empty Parliament House. Yes, I understand. If you know the rules, yes, okay, they don't need to be there. It doesn't matter. The optics look horrible. It looks like they're all half asleep at the wheel, and all the big ones are taking Friday off. Well, they most likely are a little bit. Yes, it can be run. I just think it's a big mistake. They should get these Parliament seats filled, especially in Canada, because Canadian Parliament is watched more than the United Kingdom's Parliament. All these other parliaments do it. We have a special thing here. It should be, we got to elevate the show, And so she gets heckled here. I'm gonna put it back a little bit. She gets heckled slightly, and I'm not trying to knock her, but it's because it's so bloody quiet in there. Any little bit of heckling, it can be distracting, and she's a newer MP, so it definitely wasn't. She's not totally used to getting yelled at, called names while she's trying to make a legitimate, honest point. Right? When you're being saucy, you expect it, but when you're trying to be honest, you don't expect, "You son of a loser, die!" You don't expect to hear that. So it is jarring. I understand that, But my point is Parliament should get their butts in the seats, and they should have someone who can come in their +1 or in their stead or whatever. And then at the same time, try to get the seats upstairs filled as much as possible. Getting people in the cheap seats just to watch the Parliament makes it look better. And of course, continue the rule that people in the speakers, they can't cheer, they can't stand, they have to sit there quietly. All right, let's listen to this. I paused it on her on another unfortunate time. She's what is called pursing her lips. Or she's about to spit on me. Shut the
Basic necessities.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that same report mentions how our government's investments in the Canada Child Benefit, in dental care and child care, are helping families lower their cost of living. Mr. Speaker, I welcome the Conservatives in this question because it gives me an opportunity to talk about the supports that we have in place to help all children. One child in poverty is too many, but that's why we have Mr. Speaker, if I may. Mr. Speaker, that's why we have a Canada Child Benefit that is tax-free. A majority of the recipients of that are lone parent families. 90% are single moms. Those are the kind of supports that this government is putting in place and enhancing while those Conservatives continue.
The honourable member for Fort McMurray, Cold Lake.
Nearly 1 in 5 children under 6 in Canada is living in under poverty due to their government. 2.5 million children are growing up in food insecure households, and most alarmingly of all, the number of children in severely food insecure households has doubled between 2019 and 2023. Far too many parents, the gap between working hard and making ends meet is become impossible. For too many children, opportunity is being replaced with uncertainty. At what point will the Liberal government confront the reality families are facing, take meaningful actions to lower cost, and rebuild an economy where no child is left behind?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we should all be outraged about child poverty, but what we actually need are concrete plans, and that's why this government, when we bring forward plans like the National School Food Program, like affordable childcare, it would be nice to have the support of the members opposite in passing those programs. Why has it been so difficult for us to have a permanent National School Food Program in this country? Why do the Conservatives not stand up and support affordable childcare that helps families? Mr. Speaker, why won't the Conservatives stand up and support proudly our Canada Groceries and Essential Benefits to help families? They won't do that. The outrage is unwarranted.
The honourable member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes. Thank you, Speaker. For nearly a decade of this Liberal government, child poverty is rising for the third straight year. Nearly 30,000 more children have fallen below the poverty line, and almost 1 in 5 children are now living in poverty. Families are not just struggling, Speaker, they are falling further behind. Why, after many years, 10 years of higher taxes, higher deficits, higher inflation, are Canadian children worse off under this government?
Hear, hear. Order. We'll just have the cross conversation just to tone it down a little bit. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it would be excellent for Canadians to also ask why, after so many years, these Conservatives continue to vote against the very programs that are supporting families in need, the most vulnerable families in our country, and our kids. Why won't they support a national school food program that we've put in place that's going to help 500,000 kids coast to coast? Why won't they support making it permanent? Why won't they support affordable childcare, which is helping nearly 1 million kids across this country get early learning in childcare? These are the type of programs that support families and support our kids, but somehow the Conservatives won't stand up and support these programs when they get the chance.
Member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes.
This government fails to realize is that when people are better off, when they have more money in their pockets, they don't need endless government programs. They have a responsibility to provide for their own families through good jobs, but yet we have a cost of living crisis. We have more children, 30,000 more children living in poverty. There are so many insecure households, food insecurity households in this country. It's doubled, and now working parents can't even afford food on the table. How much worse does it have to get before this Liberal government lowers costs, fixes the economy, and lets Canadian families keep more of what they earn?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
There are children living in poverty in this country, and we have an opportunity to fight for them. This government supports the Canada Child Benefit because it goes to 6 million kids. 3.5 million families get the Canada Child Benefit, but the Conservatives have never supported it. Child care, we support it. They do not. What about pharmacare, the beginnings of it? That helps families too. We support it. They do not. When it comes to the school food program, the honourable member across the way called it garbage a few months ago. Have we forgotten that? Mr. Speaker, it's a hard time. Let's have the backs of Canadians pursuing serious agendas, not games.
The honourable member for Milton in South Okanagan West, Kootenay.
When are the Liberals going to realize these programs aren't working? I was recently approached by a young mom who told me how hard it's become to feed her children. It was heart-wrenching. I see her face now when I hear child poverty rose for a third straight year in Canada. Nearly 30,000 more children fell below the poverty line. When will this Liberal government end the trend of child poverty getting worse every year?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary, the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's really ironic for them to talk down our programs when they don't even have a plan. Not only that, they're voting against every solution that we are putting forward to ease the burden of families and put more money into the pockets of Canadians. The dental plan, the groceries benefit, affordable childcare, national school food program.
Involuntary hand movement. I gotta pause this.
Let's be serious, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, let's be serious, let's serious. She's probably someone you normally she doesn't take back talk very well, I think. Nice person as they all decently are, but there's people have tolerance levels, and you can see because she naturally put her hand out. She's like, listen, right? It was a involuntary movement. Which I find it funny because this is Heckleville. Like, you can't stand up and speak without getting heckled. So let's hear. Let's watch this. Isn't it ironic? But it worked. In this case, it worked. She stopped the heckle. Oh, look at that! It worked. Stop the heckle. Look at that. That's the hand. Okay, let's just one more time. Okay. Here it comes. Talk to the hand.
To ease the burden of families and put more money into the pockets of Canadians. The dental
They
plan,
start
the
back up a
groceries
little
benefit,
bit.
affordable childcare, national school food program. No one really believes that the Conservatives are there to protect the most vulnerable. Let's be serious, Mr. Speaker. I enjoin them to work with us for real solution. Thank you.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, Cancer can upend lives in an instant. Every Canadian knows someone, be it a friend, a family member, or a colleague, who has faced a cancer diagnosis. It is a disease that touches far too many families across our country. Even some members of this House have sadly faced that news themselves. We all understand the importance of prevention and early detection. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health update the House on what the government is doing to strengthen cancer prevention and ensure more Canadians benefit from early detection?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary and the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the honourable colleague for this question. My mom is a cancer survivor, and I know what it's like when a loved one goes through cancer treatments. We also know that prevention matters. Up to 40% of cancer cases could be prevented. That's why I'm proud that our government announced $41 million for groundbreaking cancer prevention research through the Canadian Institute of Health Research and partner organizations. We are supporting 19 teams whose work will save lives, build a healthier Canada, and make sure we get to spend more time with our loved ones.
The
honourable member from Montmorency Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, the face of poverty is changing. Today, it looks like single mothers who are skipping meals to buy nice clothes for their children so they don't get made fun of at school. Field trips have become a luxury, and families are going into debt so their children don't get left out. This is the result of 11 years of Liberal policies. Families don't want pity. They don't want government handouts. They want to be able to take care of their children on their own. When will Liberals understand that their radical programs do not work and change course so that every child can live a life of plenty? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, my colleague spoke about radicalism. Well, the Conservatives are showing radicalism right now. We believe that the state has a role to play to reduce poverty through social programs. We strongly believe that social programs are important and that they contribute to improving the lives of families. I suppose Conservatives would like to get rid of them. That would make things even harder for families. The Honourable Member from Montmorency Charlevoix. Despite all of these well-intended Liberal programs, child poverty has increased again for a third straight year. Almost 30,000 more children fell below the poverty line. 1 in 5 children under 6 are living in poverty. 2.5 million children are living in food-insecure families. In Montmorency, Charlevoix, families are having trouble paying rent, and our community organizations are being overwhelmed. Why, after so much massive spending and historic deficits, are our children losing access to resources and facing food insecurity? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, poverty is a problem in general, and especially poverty affecting children. Food insecurity is a very important and concerning issue. And that is why I invite the colleagues across the way to work with us to reduce poverty by increasing economic growth, creating good jobs that lead to good paychecks. But if we cut social programs, things will be even worse, Mr. Speaker.
Bob, Central Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, Liberal policies have made child poverty worse. The Child and Family Poverty Report Card shows child poverty rising for a third straight year. Nearly 30,000 more children are falling below the poverty line, almost 1 in 5 children under age 6 now living in poverty. The number of children in severe food insecure households doubled between 2019 and 2023. When will this Liberal government stop making child poverty worse, start caring about family food affordability, and create a working economy so Canadians can afford to live?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Public Works.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to draw attention to the fact that there is no government in history who has done more to support families across this country. Whether that is introducing $10 a day, affordable, high-quality childcare for almost 1 million families in this country, whether that is introducing the National School Food Program. Mr. Speaker, we have been there for families, and we will continue to do so. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Regina West.
I know I'm pausing it a lot today. Look at the empty house on both sides. You can see who the workers are. Eh? The workers are the ones that show up. Fregascatas on the other side, on the Liberal side. We got Scheer, I think MP Kelly, Schmale, Lake on the other side. They don't show much full pan. Donate to this channel and get the camera so we can get to the House of Commons and add our footage. The hope, the dream. I have lots of great ideas to really make it exciting, in a respectful way, of course. Like, it's fun to have fun, make fun of politicians a little bit, but then there are times it's serious because it's a serious business in the end. But there is an opportunity for a little bit of jovialness, I believe. So MP Suds, as I digress, sorry. MP Suds, she was the mastermind of the child food program. I'm not sure how it's going, except I think it's good. And you know why? My belief why I think it's going good is you don't hear anything from the opposition or the newspapers, for that matter, about the child food program. So that, to me, says it's doing good, or at least flying under the radar. Most likely it's doing decent. It's getting launched. It's not 100% launched in every area yet, I don't believe. But to me, it makes sense. You send your kids to school, you go to your thing. And I think, you have, this is totally my opinion and a total huge digression. And yet you have kids, they go to school till they're like a dozen years old or so-ish. And then from there you'll see where they are. If they want to really study hard, or they want to go to a vocational kind of school. And then they go to Alpha School. Then they go to Beta School. And they go to Charlie School. And if you've ever Brave New World, if you get a little hint of that, yeah. But they go to these types of schools. And in these schools they tell them, it's the best being a Charlie platoon tool. They were the best platoon. It's the best to be learning this trade. We are the most vital to society. And everyone's taught this bull crap. But when they go there, they get their tools. At least they have basic hand tools of that job or that studies given and throughout life. You know what I mean? And throughout life kind of idea to carry them through life. where the kids that are going to educational schools, they get drafting tools, right? Stuff for that life that they carry through their life. You know what I mean? This, to me, makes sense when they're going to school instead of because the expense isn't too much, but the difference in quality of life and tax income later is huge. Because of they're like, well, you rely on your parents. And, you know, I worked in low-income service buildings, and these people generationally didn't know. They didn't know their math. How, you know what I mean? They didn't see its value because they didn't understand its value. Their kids didn't see its value. And you know, was that flag false tomato? Only are breeding. And so there's a lot more of lower class breeding. So I believe the schools are the way out. So there's my huge digression. MP Suds ignited that thought with her being the mastermind of the food program, which is apparently going good because no one knows about it or no one hears anything about it. I think it should be expanded into a huge conglomerate way, and university or / college is to be expected, I believe, you know, as Canadian citizens. Should be. We're starting to see it in the States with the Trump bucks. You get $1,000, and which will basically give the kid about $100,000, so it's enough for their education, or a down payment, or a good down payment on a house.
Donna. Obviously, if those programs were working, then we wouldn't have so many children living in poverty. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, Mahatma Gandhi once said, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable. So it's unfortunate that child poverty in Canada has risen for the 3rd year in a row. More than 800,000 children in this country are currently living in poverty, and that number has more than doubled since 2020. When will this Liberal government reverse the trend of child poverty getting worse under their watch and create an economy where Canadians can afford to live?
Great. The Honourable Secretary of State Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's very important to know that many families in Canada, in the challenge they face, have to be recognized. I was very proud to stand in our very capable Minister of Jobs and Family in Regina several weeks ago to announce $1.6 billion to help offset daycare fees for the people that want to re-enter the economy, Mr. Speaker. But any day of the week, Mr. Speaker, I will compare our progress on helping families afford the needs of their children over the Conservatives who cut many programs in their past.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
Mr. Speaker, the poverty has risen for children for the 3rd year in a row. Nearly 30,000 more children are falling below the poverty line this year. 1 in 5 children under the age of 6 now live in poverty. Mr. Speaker, if this doesn't cause the Liberals to act, I don't know what will. When will these Liberals finally meaningfully address the affordability crisis and limit their inflationary spending and get rid of all taxes on food?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, before I came on this side of the House, I was so excited when the child food school program was put forward. You know why? I grew up in a First Nations community amongst the many kids that lived in the poverty line. You know, and I go down to my community center, I watch kids go into our community center, they get a breakfast, they get a lunch, they go to school with full bellies. When I graduated from high school, I was one of very few that graduated from high school. Now we're seeing kids graduate in record numbers in my community, and I have no doubt it's because of the nutritious breakfast and lunches that they get. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
While the minister continues to deny issues with their software system, Currum, tens of thousands of Canadians have been impacted by the Liberals' botched update. Cases are backlogged, benefits are delayed, and seniors are left paying the price. The program, which was set to cost less than $2 billion, has ended up costing $5 billion more. Why do Liberal programs always massively exceed their projected costs? And why are seniors forced to pay the price for Liberal incompetence?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, let me try to correct some of the members' assertions today. There is no cost overrun on this project. It is the first phase. project is on track with respect to modernizing old age security. When this project is complete, as it is now delivering benefits on time and accurately for over 7.7 million seniors, we're going to see that this new modernization is actually there to support Canadians in some of our largest benefit programs for the next generation. It was entirely necessary, and the Conservatives should know this because there was a 2011 report from Public Accounts that encouraged them to start doing the work, which they didn't.
Member for Carleton Trail, Eagle Creek.
While the Liberals refuse to be transparent with Canadians, the Auditor General has reported these cost overruns numerous times. Their attempt at updating an outdated technology has ended up costing Canadians $5 billion more, 3 times more than they projected. The bottom line is this: Canadian seniors deserve better than Liberal excuses and denial. Why is it that Liberals can't ever deliver on time or on budget?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, this modernization project is the largest IT project ever undertaken by the Government of Canada. When it is completed, it is going to finish necessary modernization of our biggest benefit programs that millions of Canadians rely on, delivering billions of benefits over the course of our lives. This is a 60-year-old program that required updating. It is in progress. It is delivering benefits to over 7.7 million seniors right now, accurately and on time. It's the first phase. We're going to continue doing this work carefully. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
A member for Edmonton West.
Mr. Speaker, the party of cost runs is at it again. This time it's the flawed Curum system. $6.6 billion disaster that has tens of thousands of seniors hurt by the latest boondoggle from this incompetent Liberal government. So what's the Liberals' response? It's Canadians' fault for too many of them growing older and becoming seniors and flooding the system. Why are seniors being forced to pay the price for continued Liberal incompetence?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, the 2011 report of the Public Accounts Committee sounded this alarm on lack of sustainable funding for renewing IT infrastructure, noting that major funding shortfalls posed a high risk that core programs couldn't support the aging system. But the Conservatives at the time in government chose to do nothing about it. Today, these investments are long overdue. The system is in critical need of updating and modernization to move it off of a paper-based 60-year-old system so that Canadians can rely on it and benefits can be delivered securely in the years to come.
Member for Edmonton West.
MP Leslie Church is head of the beta team, Bravo team. If we go back to our Brave New World referencing, she's handling the file pretty good. She seems to know it. Has a little bit of chip back. Not too saucy, though. She's definitely a new MP, so she's not overly yet, right? She'll get there. Something, well, usually what I've found, I've watched a lot of politicians and see them flip. What usually happens is something happens, like kind of breaks the ice, you know what I mean? And it's usually a bad thing. A scandal. They get the frenzied attack of journalists. See, journalists are a different breed. You think of them more as an animal because they're at work. They're not real people. They're at work, so they have a attitude. So they're like all nice and happy, nice shark, and very pleasant even, like people are. All people are. Journalists are people. So, hey, they're all pleasant. And, they probably do them good morning, and they have things, and they walk in, and people catch in the corner of their eye, their peripheral, like them stomping the snow off and brushing the weather off, and whoof, you know what I mean? So there's the familiarity. They're normal people. You can see them huddling up in their jackets at times and walking by each other. Everything's all fine and dandy. And it's just slight glances at each other's existence. And then something happens, and the journalists get a call from the head poncho boss with the really nice office overlooking city and God knows what's in his bathroom. And then their eyes turn red, and they are on the hunt. And they all are on the hunt in unison. But they all are the same creature. They're hunting for politicians, and they will frenzily ask questions, half understood questions, well understood questions, and everything in between at any politician going by. And they will, right? Chomp, 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 right? And after a politician gets this nice trial by fire from whatever the scandal is, if it's a good or it's a bad, that usually is when they start getting a little bit saucier. You see that. But it has to happen. It's one of these funny things I always laugh at. When they first get there, 99% of the time, they're like super PG, and then one day they're like, oh, fuck it. You know, and then they normally back, you know what I mean, depends, and then they find their balance, their chi of the type of politician they'll lead. But when people first get there, everyone's on their best intentions and their best behaviors, and then there's going to be a shift, right? Well, we'll see. Even toned, I mean, like they can keep their even toned, and some MPs can do their whole career without that because they never get, you know what I mean, never get the attack thing, and sometimes that's good for their career. Sometimes, like Van Popta, he's the perfect politician of that. You never caught him on a rise and a this and a that. He's been even keel. He's been there for decades, quietly turning his wheels and doing his machinations, right? And then there's the other ones we'll say like Freeland. Freeland's not there as long, but she definitely, there was a meteoric would be more thinking of that type of politicking. She went meteoric after the politician, the first frenzy at her, and she went, well, look at MP Freeland's early press conference.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the party of Arrive Canada is once again trying to deflect from their recent failure on the OAS payment software. And just like with Arrive Canada, they're spending more energy blaming others than actually fixing the problem. Seniors are waiting over 6 months sometimes to get their OAS. When will Liberals stop hiding behind their excuses, admit their billion-dollar failure, and take action to ensure seniors receive their old age security?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we take the member's comments very seriously. 7.7 million seniors are receiving their benefits on time and accurately in a system that is now designed to be more modern, accessible, and secure. I would encourage the member, as the Minister has said repeatedly, if he knows of cases where there's urgent need, we are set up to deal with them in 24 to 48 hours, and we're very happy to do that. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Madawaska-Restigouche. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Opposition members like to say that our great country is broken. These are not just distasteful comments, they are false ones. Canada has what the world wants: an abundance of natural resources, a qualified workforce, solid, diversified trade agreements. On this side of the House, we believe in Canada. We believe in supporting our businesses and our workers. I would like to ask the Parliamentary Secretary how this confidence is being translated into generational investments in the Canadian economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. I would like to thank my colleague for that excellent question. He is right.
Reader Skeeter!
Mean-spirited slogans are not a plan.
Reminds me of.
But on this side of the House, we do have a plan. A plan to build a strong, resilient economy, and it is paying off. Private investment is up for the fourth quarter in a row, and just yesterday, Statistics Canada announced that foreign direct investment in the Canadian economy has reached its highest level in 18 years. Our plan is working. We have a serious plan, and it is bearing fruit.
Mr. Speaker, this government's current system is causing delays for hundreds of seniors who depend on OAS and GIS to pay their expenses. These services are vital to seniors on fixed income. 4 cost overruns were reported by the Auditor General in 2025. Similar incidents persist in every software program they attempt to execute. When will this Liberal government accept accountability for another software system that has failed, costing taxpayers $5 billion?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to try to shed some light on this again for the members opposite. This program is initiative is a phased program. There is no cost overrun. The modernization of our old age security systems is necessary. I think all Canadians would understand that 60-year-old computer programs are outdated, obsolete, and at risk. And so if we want Canadians to have their benefits on time and accurately, as this program is already delivering to over 7.7 million seniors, we need to be modernizing it. We need to be moving to modernize our other systems around EI and CPP as well. This is necessary to support the biggest benefit programs the Government of Canada has.
I would burst out
the
laughing
honourable member
if she
for
pulled
Courtesy
out a big
Rivière-du-Loup,
pencil,
Kataskamik,
the
Temiscouata.
furry thing on it.
Mr. Speaker, Ottawa doesn't just have a software problem, it has a systemic problem. Every time the Liberals hand over a file to a private company, costs skyrocket and accountability dries up. We had Phoenix, we had ArriveCan, and now we have Curam. $6.6 billion spent. Half of it went to consultants. Meanwhile, thousands of seniors are waiting for their pensions. When will these Liberals admit that the real problem isn't their software, it's how they manage it? Meanwhile, consultants are getting richer, and our seniors are growing poorer as they wait to receive their checks. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
With great respect to the member opposite, I really would recommend to him the reports of the Auditor General on benefit delivery modernization, the testimony, the report of the Public Accounts Committee, both in 2011 and also from this past fall. We are obviously working to address the outstanding cases, but let's please keep in perspective that this is the single largest IT modernization project the Government of Canada has ever had. And right now, it is delivering accurate and on-time benefits to over 7.7 million seniors.
Member for St. John, St. Croix.
Mr. Speaker, another federal wharf in my riding has been condemned. Many others in New Brunswick need urgent repairs. Federal wharves are the lifeblood of coastal communities, but they are being neglected by the Liberals. Just as inland economies rely on highways and airports to get products to market, Atlantic Canada relies on wharves to export high-quality seafood to the rest of Canada and around the world. In the last election, the Prime Minister promised an extra $250 million for federal wharves, but the budget didn't include a nickel. Is this another Liberal broken promise?
Yes, sir. Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Fisheries.
Mr. Speaker, small craft harbors are fixtures of coastal communities and our economy. That's exactly why our government is investing hundreds of millions of dollars into our small craft harbors. We're building the infrastructure that allows our harvesters to do their jobs, support their families and their communities. Thank you.
The honourable member for Milton East, Halton Hills South.
Mr. Speaker, earlier this week, I was proud to stand alongside my colleagues on this side of the House to vote in favor of Bill C-15. In addition to unlocking generational investments to help build a strong, modern, resilient Canadian economy, Bill C-15 contains important measures to make life more affordable for Canadians, including measures to advance open banking. Can the Parliamentary Secretary let us know how open banking reforms will allow Canadians to securely share financial data and give consumers clearer choices and better tools to manage their finances?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
In her short time as a Member of Parliament, this member is making outstanding contributions on the Committee for Public Accounts. She's doing great work in the constituency. She brings great experience as a former town councillor, and importantly, as a lawyer, she stood up for women who had been abused in domestic relationships. Mr. Speaker, she points to Bill C-15. Of course, its main focus is the economy, but within that bill is a focus also on open banking. The autonomy provided by open banking can help women experiencing violence in relationships. It's another way that we're showing support for people across communities and especially vulnerable populations. We'll continue to do that.
A member for Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are failing to stop criminals from stealing our cars. Vehicle identification numbers, or VINs, from exported vehicles are being used to sell stolen cars. CBSA has a record of these VINs, but refuses to share it with Canadian used car dealers who would use it to identify stolen vehicles. Instead, the government has given an American company a monopoly on this data, charging Canadians $40 million each year just to get access to our own data. It's absurd. Why won't the Liberals give Canadians access to our own data so that we can stop car theft?
That's it. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary combating crime.
Well,
Mr. Speaker, it is great to hear the honourable member talk about pieces of legislation that are required to catch criminals and put them away. The fact of the matter is, we've had significant pieces of legislation in front of this House for almost a year. Strong Borders Act, Combating Hate Act, bail reform, intimate partner violence, significant pieces of legislation that the Conservatives have obstructed and prevented from getting passed. So why don't you come over here and join us in catching the criminals?
Order again. Comments to the chair. The honourable member for Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Jobs and Families said, in quotes, nobody should be expected to work for free. Yet this came after the Liberals undermined CUPE flight attendants' strike against unpaid labour using Section 107 of the Canada Labour Code, siding with their corporate friends. Last week, this anti-worker stance led to a final settlement that CUPE said was, in quotes, not the outcome the union fought to achieve. Shame. Will the Liberals finally recognize workers' rights and support my bill to repeal Section 107?
Great question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of Labour.
Mr. Speaker, we stand firmly on the side of the House that nobody should work for free in this country. We take any kind of claims of unpaid work very seriously. Workers must be paid for the hours that they work. We're going to make sure that employers are following the rules. And we stood up in terms of the airline industry to make sure that we were doing an investigation into the labor practices in that industry. We are continuing with that investigation right now to get further information to make sure that those practices are in compliance with the labor code.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Honourable Minister for Housing. We were stunned as British Columbia MPs when the provincial government killed the BC Community Housing Fund. We now have projects that are ready to roll. The land has been purchased. The zoning's completed. The permits are in place for senior low-income housing, for veterans housing on Galiano Island, on Main Island, in Saanich, and across British Columbia. Will the federal government step up and create a defined program for shovel-ready projects to make sure the housing gets built for the people who need it?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague for this important question. The Prime Minister has been clear. We need to focus on what we can control. That's why our government announced a new partnership with BC that will deliver 1,100 homes across the province with shovels in the ground in the months to come. This partnership includes 700 supportive and transitional homes. We're also delivering right now, just today, the Minister is visiting Bob and Michael's place in BC. That is a place with Enable federal funding that opening doors today as they provide 200 supportive homes for the community. This is an important issue and we're taking action, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Order, and that concludes question period for today. Routine proceedings. Tabling of documents. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Health.